my plan today is to finish all of the chapter that we have to do in the final exams. And I think we will left the exercise for the last chapter to be on the 25th of April. So I will go back to teach this again because on the 23rd of April you have the in-class exam, right? So I will move the exercise for the last chapter to teach you on the 25th of April. Okay, so because we have an in-class. But my plan today is to finish this chapter. Okay, now, on Tuesday we finish on the way that we do multiplier effects and we draw graph to explain multiplier effects, right? So next one will be crowding out, and when crowding out finish, we have just only one section left and we done everything. Okay, now for crowding out effects is the effect that offset in the aggregate demand. So it looks like aggregate demand will shift, will increase or will change, and after that it will offset, so it means it will shift backward. Okay, and how to explain the backward shipment? So let's see my explanation. Okay. Before I move to crowding out, okay, I just refresh your knowledge about multiplier again. It's like this, right? So this is multiplier effect that you already write it down. So for example, G increase, and then at first AD shift first time is because of G that increase, and then after that multiplier begins. When you shift your graph, it will be the first shipment, and then after that you just show me about 2 times shipment of multiplier effects. Now, because the example of these questions they show you that G increased, so that's why you shift AD rightward further. However, the situation will be the same if the question tells you that, for example, government reduce the investments in government spending 20 billion. So it will be the same. You just shift graph, everything, explain everything the same, but in opposite direction. You can say G reduce, everything reduce first time, and then AD shift leftward first. Okay, and after that the multiplier can affect as well, because when AD reduce in one industry, it can affect another industry as well. So another industry, AD will shift leftward because they don't have money to spend. So AD shift left and left. So the way of shipment can go leftward first time, and then after that it go another leftward and leftward. Okay, so it can be show us that this one multiplier can happen as well. So usually multiplier is doesn't mean that it need to increase all the time. It can be reduced as well. But the multiplier is the effects that it make G to change more than the first changing. Okay, and it make AD to change more than G change. So it means that the change of AD more than G change, it can be the change in the upward direction or downward direction. Okay, so you can explain in both ways. So not just only stick with the case of increase all the time. So it can be reduced. Okay, so we can do any other. So just analyze it carefully. Okay, because multiplier can be on increase or reduce. Now, crowding out. Okay. When crowding out happens, suppose I just have the same example. Okay. Suppose government increase 20 billion to buy an aircraft. What happened on AD? Okay. So in this case, when crowding out happens, it makes the AD to change sometimes less than G change. Okay. Or it can make AD to change less than G change. Okay, but this case is not always happen. I will show you that it can have this case, or this case will still not happen. I will show you. Okay, but when crowding out happen, it can make AD to change less than G change. But this case not always happen. I will show you. Now, the first analysis is that you just show me the same. Okay, copy the same explanation. You see, G change 20 billions. The money go to the aircraft industry and AD shift first time. Okay, explain the same. AD shift first time. the same graph, in fact, because I just write the new one because my graph is so messy here. So addition, one time. And then after that, multiplier can affect first that the money go to car industry, these people in this industry spend more, addition, second time, and go to another industry, and addition, third time. So you just explain the same. Multiplier will affect further. Then, when multiplier affects, then the crowding out will happen. So after this, I will just explain you the crowding out. Okay? So you just explain, you need to explain the same at first, and shift AD about like 2-3 times. Okay, and then after that, after this period, after 83, you will start to explain crowding out. Okay, I will explain crowding out after this.
ต้องลงควันเท่านั้นทำไมมันน้อยเนาะน่าจะมีเขาพูดเบคอนก่อน
Suppose it's continue from the thing that I write before, which is this thing, right? Suppose it continue from what I write before. Okay, so I just continue.
หักมะม่วงเถอะมันเสาร์แหลกมะม่วงเองนะ
Okay, I finished my explanation at the point that AD increased from 82 to 83, right? Before. And then crowding out will happen. Okay. People will see the economy that right now the aggregate demand increased a lot. So what they thinking that in the futures maybe price will increase in the futures because AD of the people increase. Price may increase in the futures because of AD change. So that's why when the time pass, people try to hold more money, especially for MD for transaction purpose, because they're thinking that right now economy have a lot of aggregate demand. So they have a chance that the price in the economy will increase and they need to just change their behavior that, okay, I'm thinking that in the future price will increase and we need to hold more money for transaction in the futures. So that's why when the time pass, MD of people will increase and it will affect onto the graph, which is the graph of money market. So MD can increase from MD0 to MD1. Graph will shift rightward. Now, at I0, what happened? This is money market. Okay. At I0, what happened? We have excess something. Because the MD is here, already shift rightward, right? We compare the new graph, that shift with the old graph, MD bigger than MS. We have excess money demand. It means that right now in the economics, everyone would like to hold money. So if you want to borrow money from me, I don't want to lend it to you because I want to hold my money. So that's why the cost of borrowing increased because no one would like to lend money to others. The cost of holding money or the cost of borrowing money increase, so that's why it may interest rate in the market to increase from I0 to I1.
ซ่อมเสร็จวันที่สอบเสร็จวันที่10ใช่ปะบอกค่อยกลับอีกเดือนนึงโอ้ยกลับมาแล้วอยู่กรุงเทพ
When you have to explain, you need to put the arrow and everything in sentence. But just understand that this is lecture note, so I cannot write so long, okay? But you can just substitute everything in your word. Like say, this one is money market, and then when it change, what happened? We have excess money demand, interest rate go up, equilibrium change from A to B, interest rate change or increase from I0 to I1. Right now, interest rate increase. When interest rate increase, what happens? So we'll found that when interest rate increase, interest rate is the cost of borrowing, or it will be money market rate. So this one, little I, is represent as the money market rate increase, which is composite of the loan rate and also deposit rate. So when loan rate increase, the cost of borrowing increase, no one would like to borrow, invest. Investment go down.
มันทำไม่ได้ผมมันสวยไม่เข้าเขาเดิมขับไม่เขาไม่อย่างเงี้ย
So when investment go down, what happened to AD? Yes, AD go down or chip level.
มึงพวกนี้แบบไนส์ไหมไนท์ทูมิสยูยินดีที่ได้รู้จักค่ะ
Before we finish at AD3, right, we need to chip back AD3 to AD4. Write this first before I go to the graph, because the way that it chip backward can be not just only you chip it, but it have about two ways that you can chip AD, leftward or backward. Okay, write it first before I go to the shipment. What color that I have right now? Black.
ผมมันติด iPad ด้วย
Okay, if you finish this, I will go to the graph and show you how to ship.
มันสรุปป๊อปปี้ไม่มีสอบใช่ป่ะอย่าให้กูปั่นใจดอก
Which I will not want to rush when I go to the graph. So you just say why it crowding out. So the crowding out effect is the effect that happen when AD after it chip, after it go in some way. For example, after it increase, it will shift backward. So this is so-called crowding out effects. Crowding out effects happen when AD will shift on the opposite direction as before, or in here, AD in fact it increased, right now it reduced. So this one is the crowding out that happens. So the crowding out effects start from here, from AD chain and P chain, and you need to adjust your MD. So this effects, so-called crowding out, okay, then you write it down. So this one is crowding out. So when crowding out happens, AD will shift backward. So the important point is that how you shift AD. The way that you shift AD can be in two ways. Okay, the way to shift AD backward, we have two ways to shift AD. Depend on how much of the crowding out effects happen. Okay, the crowding out effects when you shift AD backward. Okay, when you shift AD. Or I can say when you shift AD backward, in the backward direction, right? It has two ways to shift. Depends on what effects of crowding out. If the crowding out effects bigger, a lot, bigger than multiplier, the graph will shift AD back, okay. And when you shift 83 to 84 backward or leftward, you will shift a lot because right now crowding out is quite big. Okay, the effect of crowding out is quite big. So if you go through your graph, when the effect of crowding out is quite big, bigger than multiplier that happened before. So this is my graph, or your graph. This is multiplier, right? When you shift back, because right now crowding out is bigger than multiplier. The multiplier is from 81 to 83. So this is multiplier in my right pen. So we have to shift from 83 backward. Right now, the multiplier is here, but the crowding out happened a lot. So when you shift back a lot than multiplier. So 84 will be my green pen, which show us that the crowding out, you see, crowding out is quite bigger than multiplier. Okay, so this is the first case when crowding out bigger than multiplier. Okay, so you see that the range that you shift from 83 to 84 is quite bigger than the multiplier range, which is 81 to 83. So this is number one, okay, that crowding out is bigger than the multiplier. And you see the total effects of AD chain, if you minus everything together, the total effect chain is from AD0 to 84. So this is total effect chain. So the AD just change is only this thing. Okay, because you just rank from AD0 to 84. So this is total AD chain. And you see that if the case number one happened, you will getting the result that the chain of AD is less than the chain in G. Because G, the chain in G, where? The chain in G is AD0 to AD1. But the total chain just only AD0 to 84. You see, okay? So if you see the range, the total chain, you will getting that in the first case when counting out a lot, the chain of AD, which is just only this gap, is less than the chain in G, which is here, the chain in G, from AD0 to AD1, you see. So if counting out is a lot, AD can change less than G chain. I don't have any color anymore. Let me see you back. I don't have any color anymore. Anyway, I don't care. Okay. Okay, this one okay. Now, in the case that the crowding out happened as well, but the crowding out effect is less. This just only happened. It happened, but it happened little. Less than multiplier. The graph will shift in different way. This is the things that the textbook doesn't tell you. Textbook just say counting out happened in that piece. And they have just adding some paragraphs saying that the effects will be different depending on the effects of crowding out or multiplier, but they even not shift the graph for you. So this is I do by myself to you. Okay? So this does not happen in the textbook. So if crowding out happen very little in this case, you just shift crowding out, shift from AD3 to AD, from AD3 to the new AD4. But the way that you shift it just only little, okay, not as the first things that you shift. So in this case, you just shift it from AD3, okay, number 2, AD3, and you shift just only little. Okay, I put the number here to let you see. Okay, so this is AD4 that you shift a lot, number 1. And this is AD4 that you shift just only little. Okay. So this is the case that multiplier chain, but chain less than the coming out chain, but chain less than the multiplier. If you see the gap in my red pen, this is multiplier effects from AD1 to AD3 in my red pen, which is still bigger than the crowding out. You see crowding out gap is just only AD3 and AD4. In the second case, okay. And how much of total chain? So if second case happen, you will get the result that when you rank the gap from AD0 to AD4, the gap here is still quite big, bigger than the chain in G. Just only that. Okay, so the total chain still bigger. So the crowding out can happen, but the effects on AD, even more or less, it sometimes depends on how much of crowding out. So you will get this result. You will get this result only when crowding out bigger than multiplier. You will get this result. But if crowding out happen, it can happen. But if it happens just only little, you will get in that AD still change more than G. So it depends on the economy. So usually in our real world, we have multiplier and crowding out all the time. But why we still see that some country economic growth increase? Because crowding out happen, but happen just only little. So that's why we see that this country economic growth still high in the future or high in this year. But if you see that economic have a downturn, even the fiscal policy happen, maybe crowding out happen in that country and crowding out change a lot. So that's why that is. Okay, so this is the finish of crowding out. So when you chip, you need to chip it two ways. Okay, to explain crowding out. Even the question doesn't ask you, but this is the crowding out effect, so you need to explain it all. Because this one is the all of effects of crowding out. But if questions say some situation that, okay, the economic go down, and AD shift less than G or AD change less than G, maybe you can just only explain in this the first reasons. But anyway, the full explanation for crowding out should be like this, because this is the possible effects. Okay, finish the crowding out. Also, if you need to explain crowding out in the opposite way or opposite direction, you can do it as well. For example, if the question say there are something change in the economy in the opposite way. For example, G reduce, okay? But so when G reduce, you just shift AD leftward first and go to leftward and leftward again. So the graph will be on the leftward direction, right? And when crowding out effects happen, the graph will have a backward shipment. So instead it continue to shift leftward further. So it go backward like this. Okay, whether it go backward a lot or go backward very little, it depends on whether counting out is bigger than multiplier. And that is the same. In fact, you can explain all of this in either rightward direction or leftward direction. Anyway, okay, you can do. Finish. I hope you are happy with counting out, more or less. Okay? And this is all explanation which I already draw the shipment for you, which is more than the textbook anyway. Because they just teach you here just only money market and already ship backward for you, but it's not quite clear how much they ship, so that's why I draw it
สวยตาย
for you. Okay. The 2.2 is that because fiscal policy can have the chain, not just only G or government spending, but also have tax chain as well. So if questions say government doing fiscal policy by changing tax, the effects definitely the same, similar explanation as you done with the case of government spending, the same. In fact, you don't need to, I don't need to teach you again because you know already. For example, if questions say the government doing some budget deficit by reducing, for example, they say if they reducing tax equal to 20 billion, it can be income tax or they want to reduce their VAT, that causing the revenue of the government to reduce from 20 billion, for example. Okay. All the explanation is the same. However, if it begins with the tax, maybe I think your explanation, for example, if it's income tax, okay, I will show you just only example. If the tax reduce or tax change, even if income tax or VAT, I think you can still use this example, but you just change a little bit by saying that, okay, if tax reduce, for example, income tax reduce, people we have more money we have more income. So instead you just explain through the industry, like an investment, because income tax is affects households, right? So you can say, okay, the household in the economics will have more income, they will consume more. I think the way for income tax is that you just explain it, but you can explain it through the consumption. Also, if it income tax, it's not just only household, right? It can be firms as well, like firms income tax reduce. So in fact, you can say the household of firms will invest more. Okay. So if you want to use the examples of household, you can say, okay, the household, the first household, just only the first household increase consumption. Or you can say firms A increase their investment. So maybe you can suppose that firm A doing the business, for example, any other business, for example, aircraft business. Okay. After you ship AD, right? Your example, you can say that, oh, in household A or household number one, they consume more. So you can just setting your example that, okay, for example, they consume more, they buy what? Okay. Suppose they buy car to use in household, so the money go to car industry. Okay. Or this firm A. Okay. Firm A doing, for example, they doing an aircraft, they investment more. So they have more money and then they can just hire labor and they can just buy the car or truck to use in their industry. The same example. Okay. And then everything will go to here. You can say household buy car, so the car industry will have more money and then they can invest more. Everything will go as the same. Okay. But I think if the question says something about tax, you just change the explanation, just only the first thing that happened because it's income tax, sometimes it's effects on household. Okay. Or VAT. If it's VAT, it's definitely affects on household because household they buy goods and service. So you will thinking that tax on VAT reduce, household will consume more. And then you just put your own example that they consume what? For example, they consume car, and after that the car industry have more money. So this one will be the same explanation. They have more money, they spend more. Okay, and then they hire more labor, they can just invest in another industry and so on. Okay, I think for tax, you just change your own explanation, just only the first shipment, because if it's a tax on household tax, so it affects on consumption first, but anything will be the same. Okay, if it multiplier, you just ship AD0, AD1, and then go to red pen AD2, 3, and that is. Okay. If you need to explain multiplier, I think all of the analysis will be the same, so you don't need to change anything. Okay, the same shipment, the same analysis. However, if I say that government using government budget surplus by increasing tax, okay, when you increasing tax, the same tax increase, people not have much income, they have less income, they consume less, investment less. So AD, instead of ship rightward, it ship leftward. So it's the same effects as G reduce when tax increase. So you just ship AD leftward and continue to leftward and leftward again when the multiplier change. And if crowding out happen, it will shift backward. Whether it shift more or less, it depends on whether crowding out or multiplier, which one is bigger. But I think for tax change, everything will be the same as the government spending change. So in fact, you know it already. Okay, multiplier effects, as rate demand will increase, crowding out, it will shift backward. Okay. Now the things that you need to highlight is here. If you need to explain about tax, I think just adding just only one more explanation, and that is for tax. After you finish talking about AD shipment, either it have crowding out or multiplier, or either which effect is bigger or not. So you just add one more explanation saying that when tax change, the effects on AD can be more or less. Also, it's not depend on whether crowding out, okay, for tax change. The effects on AD, okay, first one is depends on whether crowding out is bigger than multiplier. This one you know it, right? In tax change. But the second reason that when tax change, AD will shift more or less, it not depend on this factor, but it depends on another factors as well. So we have two factors, whether AD can change more or less. So first one is depend on this one. Okay, you know it. Second one is depends on this thing. AD will change more or less in case of tax change. AD will change more or less depends on whether government try to change a permanent tax. For example, I want to cut tax 20% and this rate will continue forever. So this one is permanent tax change. So if it's permanent tax change, they can have a large and permanent effects on AD as well. Because I doesn't change the tax all the time. I just change it permanently. So it will have a large impact on AD. So you can write down that it can have a large impact or permanent impact on AD. However, if the tax change is just only temporarily, for example, I want to change the tax just only 1 year, and then after that, my tax rate go back in the same level as last year. So it has quite a small impact on AD, because AD can shift just only 1 year and then it shift back again. But these things, you just only add the explanation. You don't need to draw any graph for explain these things. So you can just add in one more explanation saying that in case of tax change, AD can affect by first thing, whether cutting out bigger than multiplier, and then you draw a graph, right? And after that, second factors that can affect AD in the case of tax change is that whether tax change, permanent or temporary, that is. And finish. Okay, we finish cutting out. Okay, now we come to the last sections of the final exam, which I have quite happy about it, more or less. Okay, now, so this is the last section, which definitely very easy as usual. So this one, because you already know the role of fiscal policies and monetary policies on AD, we finish. And the last sections coming to you that whether you still use the policy, either monetary policy or fiscal policy, to stabilize the economy or not. So there are some issue about whether government or central bank should use the policy to stabilize the economy or not. So there are three ideas to support whether they would like to use the policy to stabilize economics or not. So the first case is the case of what we call it is the case of active stabilized policy. It means that there are some group of people that support, very supportive of the use of policy to stabilize the economy. So this is the first group idea or first group opinion. They support that we should use policy to stabilize the economy. Second group saying that is a group that they against the active stabilization policy. So it means that this group, they not agree to use any policy to stabilize economy. They just saying that if anything happen in my economy, just let it go. So you don't need to use any policy to stabilize. So this is the second group ideas or second group opinions. Okay. And the last group is the group that's saying that, okay, I don't want to use policy, but I will set up something so-called automatic stabilizers. So I will set up some systems in my economy. I will set up some system in the economy, so-called automatic stabilizers. And these systems, when I set up, it just can stabilize economics by itself. So if this system is work, it can stabilize the economics by itself without any policy to stabilize. So we have about three ideas or three group of ideas, and we just learned that and finish. Okay. Now, let's see the first group. Okay. The first group is the group of economists who support the ideas of the using of any policy to stabilize the economy. Why they believe, okay, the reason why they believe that we should use policy to stabilize the economy is that, you can write number one here. The first reason is that they say that it's written in the law that the government should promote the full employment and productions. So it's meaning that government should avoid the cause of economic fluctuation because it's written on the law. It is a duty of government that you should stabilize economy. Why you just ignore that? Because it's your duty. You should do that. Okay. So the first reason is that because it's written on the law. In U.S., it's written in the Employment Act 1946 that government should continue to use policy to promote full employment and productions. So it means it is the duties of government to do that and should do anything to avoid economic fluctuation. So you can write your own example saying that, okay, in this case, if economy go down, okay, for example, if it have recession, what do you do if it have recession? Government should use what policy to stop recession? Government budget deficit or surplus? Okay. If you are central bank, what type of monetary policy that you use during recession? Either expansionary monetary policy or contractionary monetary policy. If you are central bank, the type of monetary policy, we have two types of monetary policy: expansionary or monetary easing. So it means that we would like to increase money supply. Another thing, we have contractionary monetary policies or monetary tightening, or it means we want to reduce money supply. So in here, we have to use expansionary monetary policies or monetary easing. I just refresh your knowledge on the chapter 16, whether you can remember or not. What is the central bank tools to expand or to do monetary easing? If I doing policy rate, what I do? Increase or reduce? Reduce. If I do OMO, I will do OMO purchase or sell. Okay. If I change my reserve requirement, what I do? Reduce or increase? If I change discount rate, what I do? Discount rate. What is discount rate? What is discount rate? Lending rate between who? Central bank and commercial bank. So I should reduce. Okay. So this is what you should do in recessions. But if the economy already grow up and we're thinking that we have inflation, so we should use the government budget surplus and monetary tightening or the contractionary monetary policy. And this is your duty, so you should do that. So if you agree with them, it depends whether you agree with them. But anyway, so they're thinking that this is the role of government or even monetary policy to do that. Okay, right first. And the second reason to support this opinion is that the government should respond to the change in private economy to stabilize aggregate demand. So they're thinking that the aggregate demand, which will affect onto the price level and output, they need to stabilize because aggregate demand is the variable that it can affect on price and output, which can lead to the economic fluctuation. So that's why we should use the policy to control that aggregate demand. That we just learned it before, right? That we use fiscal policy and central bank policy to change the aggregate demand. So we should use the policy to control the aggregate demand. Okay, and you can write the third reason, which in fact I didn't write it for you, but you just write down. There are one economist, so-called John Maynard Keynes. Okay, this is the idea of Keynes. Keynes saying that people in the economy have the animal spirit, or we call it animal instinct, because we are human. It looks like we are animal. In fact, we are animal. We have the animal spirit or animal instinct. What usually human as an animal do is that we always think good and thinking bad, or we always thinking positive and negative about something. Oh, sorry, and optimism. I'm still confused between these two words. Okay, when we thinking pessimism, it means you believe in something in the negative aspect, or you're thinking about you are negative thinking. But if you are optimism, it's like you are positive thinking. So because we are human, we always have animal instincts or animal spirit. Is meaning that we always think good and bad about some things, about some ideas. And when because people have animal spirit, we always thinking good and bad about the economy. So if they're thinking that economic will go down in the future, so what they do is that they will reduce their consumption. They don't want to invest. So it's make the demand for goods and service go down. Aggregate demand go down. And if you're thinking good about economy, you will thinking that in the future economy will be better. I start to consume more, invest more. AD go up. And you see, people thinking can make economy to fluctuate, because if people thinking bad, economy can go down, or it can cause economic downturn. But if people think good about economy, okay, it can boost up economy by people thinking, or I can say like people expectations. And we cannot avoid that people expectations because it's in our instinct, so we cannot change our behavior or our instinct that we have when we born, right? So that's why we cannot avoid that people expectations. And you know that people expectation can make economy to go down or to go up. So that's why, because of these reasons, we need a policy, we need a monetary policy or fiscal policy to solve the economy. We need the monetary policy or fiscal policy to control economy. Otherwise, if you left people to thinking about what they expect and didn't control anything, it can make a worse in the economics, because economy will fluctuate a lot because of people expectations. So that's why we needing the monetary policy or fiscal policy to control economy. In fact, this is just only my own abbreviation, not just the official one. This is my own. Because when I do lecture note, I always just do my own abbreviation, because otherwise I cannot lecture on time. Okay. And when my friends just borrow my lecture note, they always frustrate with me because they cannot read my lecture note, because they always have my own abbreviation which they not understand. So that's why. So this one is just only my own abbreviation to say. That's why we need monetary policy or fiscal policy to control economy. Okay, because we cannot avoid people expectations. That is. So we have just about 3 reasons to support the case of active stabilization policies, or why we have to use the policy to stabilize the economy. Okay. Okay, let me write first. Okay, can I move? Yes? Okay, the second group opinion, they're thinking that we don't need any policy. We just let it go. Let economic go what they want. Okay, so what they're saying that they're against the stabilization policy. They're saying that government or even central bank should avoid the use of monetary policy and fiscal policy. Why? Okay, the first reason is that if you want to achieve the long run economic goal, for example, if we're thinking that inflation should be in this level for long term in the next 10 years, should be at 2% in the next 10 years. So you shouldn't use any policy to stabilize the economy, because the economy in the long term, they believe that it go back to the full employment equilibrium by itself. So you don't need any policy to stabilize, because you just wait for the economy to go back to the full employment, to the natural rate of output. So you don't need to do anything. So if you see the graph in the previous chapter, for example, in case we shift SRAS, it shift leftward until it shift in the long term, the price go up until we need to wait for a long time until the short run go back in the full employment. They're thinking that we don't need any policy, just let economy go. Or even AD shipment, if you see the graph in the previous chapter, you will see that, oh, we just let economy go, in the long term it will go back. So we don't have to use any policy. Okay. And the economy, if you left alone, it can deal with the short run fluctuation because it can go back to the same equilibrium. So this is the first reason. Okay, the first reason. The second reason is that they're thinking that monetary policy and fiscal policy can affect the economy with a lag. They have a lag of policy to affect economy. So I will just tell you a little bit. The policy lag, for example, if we call it in terms of monetary policies, it have a policy lag. For example, if at time t0, if central bank do something, for example, if central bank buy bond or doing own or purchase, okay. So what they aims of their buy bond is that they want to increase the economic growth. They want to push the economy go up, right? But when you buy bond, it takes some time before it affects economics because bond will purchase, money will go in the economy, and then money supply will increase, and then after it will affect on the demand for goods and service. AD will increase. So definitely when central bank do something, it not affects economic right now, but it affects on time T2, for example, the economy affects. Okay. But if you do like that, what happens is that if you draw some graph, you're doing policy. If you let economic go, they will just go by their own, right? But when you just do policy, the economy doesn't go up. The economy not go up now. But it will go up on time T2, so it means that it can go up further than you want. It can lead to higher inflation than you want because economic not affect now, not here. But because it have a lag, right? So it will affect at time T2, so it means that at time T2, the GDP can grow up more than you expect. In fact, it grow up like in my blue pen, but in fact it grow up in my red pen, which is not good because it can lead to hyperinflation, which you not want. Because if you expect it to affect on time T1, it not affects because it takes a long time before policy affect economy. Usually in the evidence study, you need to wait for about 3 to 6 months before monetary policy affects economy. So this is evidence study, so we need to wait for some period. If you are in developed country, just 3 months it can hit economics. But if you are in developing country or underdeveloped, you need to wait for a long time, maybe 6 months or 1 year. So that's why if you want economic to affect at time T1, it's not affect. But it can affect at time T2, it's have a lag. And it can create to hyperinflation, which you don't want. So that's why we need to, they're saying that we don't need any policy, just let it go. Also, for in case of fiscal policy, it have a lag as well, but the lag of fiscal policy is not because of the effects of monetary policy tools like this. But the lack of the fiscal policy mainly happened because of government process they're taking a long process because the government need to use a lot of document need to meeting every time before they issue something. So the government process is quite long before they approve something. So if they, for government, for fiscal policy, for example, for government, if they do some meeting now, okay, the economic not affect now because they need to do a lot of meeting, okay, and need to approve. So maybe you do a lot of meeting until you approve the economic to do things here at time T2. So if you first meet, it doesn't mean that you can change anything. So you need to wait for a long time before you get approved from the Congress, and then you can use your policy. Maybe the step may be longer than this, so you need to wait. So that's why sometimes the action cannot, it's too long before the economic will affect and maybe too late. So we have a lag. Okay, so that's why we just let economic go. We don't need anyone to help. Okay, we have a lag. And the last reason, the third reason is that we thinking that the forecast is imprecise. Forecast for whom? Forecast, you can say the forecast of the government or the forecast of central bank. Maybe they forecast they forecast the economic in the incorrect way, or they have a wrong forecast about economy. You can say they have a wrong forecast about economy. For example, if you are central bank, you're thinking that in the future inflation will increase. So what they do is that they use monetary tightening. They're thinking that they can stop inflation, but in fact they forecast wrong. In fact, in the future, inflation not increase. They're still the same level, but they already use their policy to stop inflation. So it can lead to the wrong policies change because they can forecast something wrong. And the economy variable, for example, inflation, it changes all the time. So it's very difficult to forecast it correctly. So that's why central bank or the government can do a wrong forecast about inflation, they do a wrong forecast about the employment rate. And sometimes we have economic crisis which suddenly happen, so we cannot forecast. So that's why we can do a wrong policy decision because we cannot forecast something correctly. So that's why, because of three reasons, we're thinking that we not have to support economic using policy, we just let it go. Last slides of the final exams will be here. So the third opinion saying that we don't need policy, we don't need anyone, but we will set up some systems in our economy and let this system go. Okay, so it's different from number 3. It's different with number 2 because number 2 is that we don't need to do anything, we don't need to set up any system, we don't need to do anything, just let it go. Okay, but the third group opinion say that okay, we don't need the role of government, but we will set up some systems in the economy. This system, so-called automatic stabilizers, when this system happens, it can stimulate the aggregate demand. It can stimulate the aggregate demand when the economies go into recession or in economic growth without any policymaker having to take any decisions. The example of the automatic stabilizers or the example of the system, so-called, we have about 2 examples for you to learn. The first example is the tax system, which in fact set up by government. So this is tax system. And the second example is, I think you can just write it Okay, the first system is tax system, right? That's set up by government. And also the second system is set up by government as well. Can you change it to be the, can you change, say that government subsidy, not government spending, you say government subsidy. Just change here. Government subsidy, not government spending. Okay. Government subsidy. Okay, so we have about two systems. So let's see the first system, the tax system. And second one is government subsidy. Okay, tax system. Tax system, for example, we have a system to collect the income tax. We have the system to collect our VAT. Suppose tax system here, the systems of collecting the income tax. Okay, and income tax system in Thailand is that everyone need to declare for the tax in this following in this year until the April. So you need to go in the website and just fill the information about how much your income, and then that system will calculate how much tax you need to pay for you. So everyone need to pay tax. It's legal that everyone who get income need to pay tax. Now, when this system happens, it can stabilize economy without any policy. So let's see how it can stabilize economy. For example, we have recession in our economy. In the economy where have recession, when recession happen, economy are very bad, people will automatically have less income, right? Because of recession, people have automatically have less income. When people have less income, automatically the tax or the income tax that government can collect from people again will automatically reduce. So everything happen by automatically happen. You have less income when you declare for the income in this year. You not have much income, so you pay less tax. So it looks like income tax that you pay lower, or government pay less income tax. So that's why I write here that the same government collect tax lower or income tax that people need to pay automatically lower because you not have much income while you have to pay more tax. So when the time pass, it make the economy to adjust by itself because people can pay, instead they have to pay more tax, they pay less tax because they have less income. So when the time pass, people will have more income in order to consume more, okay, spending more. So demand for goods and service begin to go up, and aggregate demand will go up again, which can stabilize the recession by its own. Because instead, in the period before, you need to pay more tax. But now, in the recession, I pay less tax. You can collect tax less than before. So it's similar to you have less income tax, right? Or you pay less income tax. So when the time pass, people will start to spending again because they have more net income to spend. They have more net income after tax, right? the net income after tax will increase. Or after tax income increase, income after deduct from tax increase. So you start to spend again, consume more, and actual demand will go up automatically. But we need some time to adjust, right? Not happen immediately. So before it have recessions now because of that tax system that you set up. So it will make people to start consume again and AD will increase again. So after economic drop, it will go up again automatically without anyone to do any policy. And that is, so it can stabilize economics, but it needs some time. So in number two, in the second opinion, the time that you wait for the economy to go to the full employment equilibrium will be long. But this one, it takes some time, but if you compare the time period, maybe it's not longer compared with the case of not using any policies. You have to wait, but not too much compared with the case of not using any policy. But in the first case, you don't need to wait. You just do policy and that is economic go back to equilibrium, but you need to use policy for the first case. Okay. Okay. The second system is so-called the government subsidy, or government giving some subsidy, giving some money to support some sector. The example of government subsidy action as an automatic stabilizers are government insurance systems. What is government insurance? Is the systems or the policy in order to give income or give money to people to support them when they are unemployed. I think you learned it already in midterms. Do you know unemployment insurance? No? I don't know. But you have some chapter about unemployment, and I think you just calculate something, and it has some policy that can create the frictional unemployment, which is this one. Okay. Unemployment insurance is a policy that government will giving the money to support the people who are unemployed. Usually when you are unemployed, right, they're giving the money to support you during you are unemployed. In US, maybe they can give you a money half of the income that you get beforehand, but the money that they support you is not because you are do something wrong and the employer just fire you out. It's not that problem. Okay, but you are unemployed because they lay you off because of economic situation, that if economic bad, you are unemployed. In fact, you don't want to sign, you don't want to go out, but the company just lay you off because economic very bad. Okay, suppose we have recession happen. Okay, and labor need to lay off. The company lay off I have to say company lay off the labor. Okay, the company just lay off the labor, so it have a problem with unemployed increase, unemployment increase. Because you have these systems of unemployment insurance. When you unemployed, what this system do is that they give you a money. So I can say they give you an income to support during unemployed. So it looks like even it's recession, but you still get an income. But it's not good in terms of this because government need to use to waste a lot of money. But more recession, it looks like more government subsidy. You see, more recession, more government subsidy. I can say. More government subsidy. So when the time pass, it looks like people will get income more. Okay. Again, they can use income to spending. What have we done before? Spending, demand for good and service increase, and ADP increase. So it can cancel all recessions by its own. We don't need to use. Okay, in fact. It is the government policies, but government doesn't do some action because it's the systems. When you unemployed, you go to the labor organization saying that you are unemployed. They automatically give you money to support during you are unemployed. So it is a system because we set up already. We don't need to do things further. It's a system. So you get income. You can use income to spend, to live during you are unemployed. And then aggregate demand will increase. So that's why it can cancel out recession without any policy. So this one may be good choice for we set up automatic stabilizers as a system, and then just let it go to stabilize economy without any policy. So we have about 3 opinions, right? The first opinion thinking that we should use policy to stabilize economy. Second opinion, we don't need to use anything. Third opinion, we need to use some systems. I think whether which opinion is good or not, it depends on the country economy. For me, in my opinion, I'm thinking that if your country are developed country, if you are developed country, I think maybe your economic structures are good enough, you have a good infrastructures already. Maybe you don't need any policy to stabilize because economy can go to the full employment very quickly because your financial structure, your economic structures are good enough, right? I think it can go back to its equilibrium quickly. Or if you are a developed country, maybe you set up these structures. I think it's good also because you just let economy go and system will just adjust by itself. You don't need to use any policy much to control economy because your system are good enough, your government have a lot of money enough to giving the subsidy, so maybe you can survive. But if you are underdeveloped country or developing country, maybe you need the policy to take an actions. So you cannot leave your country like this. Okay, or you cannot leave, or you cannot support the second opinion. So you need to use policy to stabilize the economy. Or maybe you can set up this, but in the underdeveloped country, we're not sure that whether we can set up these systems because maybe for unemployment insurance, the government will give money to support. Yes, they give, but the government maybe have less funds, they have less money to support, right? And why this system works? Because you have just only little money to support people in your country. Maybe it doesn't work for your country to boost up AD. Maybe it's not enough. Or the tax system, yes, but in fact your country people are having a poverty problem. In fact, you have less income, even they not have recession. People in your economics have less income for a while. So even if have recession, government still collect less income tax as the same. So maybe it doesn't work for the poor country. Okay, but anyway, it's also depend on your country. And also during financial crisis, during the economic, during a crisis problem, I'm not thinking that during crisis, I think we should support this one, the first one. Because during crisis, we need a policy to take actions. The first policy action should be better if we have crisis. We cannot leave economy alone during crisis, right? So it's not a good way to do that. Or during the crisis, maybe automatic stabilizer that you set up doesn't work because for government subsidy during crisis, government don't have money to support you because no money. And maybe in terms of tax system, maybe government cannot collect tax, the income tax equals zero because everyone cannot go out to work, so they don't have much income. So maybe during crisis we need this one. Okay. If I write about the timeline, about how fast of the policy action, right? So I think the first case is the fast and slow. I think for the first case, it's quite fast about the policy reactions. And I think for the second case is in the middle. I think the third case is in the middle because you just set up some systems, maybe economic effects, but you need to take a little bit time. But the second option is that you doesn't adjust anything, so we need to wait. So this one will be short-term effects. Okay, short-term effects, long-term effect. So maybe the second case, we don't need to use any policy. Maybe we take a long time to effects because economy need to go back to the full employment by its own. So this is the time period when I rank what policy that affects economy. Okay, finish. In fact, we have an exercise. Do you want me to go doing some exercise, or you want to leave it on? Silent, or someone say, okay, finish. So this one, okay, I finish you first. So this is all of the material that we need to do the final exam. I finish everything for you. Okay. I can do some exercises a little bit and then I will go, but I will finish before. And after that, I will go back to finish it on the 25th. Okay. I can do some exercise that you don't need to write it too much. Oh, there are some things that... Okay, there are some things that you can done it before. Okay, maybe I do some things, just a little bit. 5 to 10 minutes, maybe enough. Okay, this one. Number 4, give an example of, in fact, this one you don't need to do anything. Give an example of government policy that act as an automatic stabilizer. So this one we just learned. We have the tax systems and government subsidy like unemployment insurance and the tax systems. Explain why the policy has these effects. I already explained it to you. Okay, so you don't need to do anything. What is the theory of? Okay, I go back to number 1. use the theory of liquidity preference to explain how the decrease in money supply affects AD curve. Okay, so this one you just learned it already. Highlight here, use the liquidity preference theory. So it means that this theory is the theory that used to explain the MD curve. Why MD curve have negative slope? Because MD we have three purposes of holding money, which are MD for transaction purpose, speculative purpose, and the precautionary. This one is liquidity preference theory. Right, this one, right? And then they just ask you how the decrease in money supply affect AD curve. So what you can do is that you just use this graph, this one, okay? So you just shift MS, but how you shift? They're saying that you just shift in decrease in money supply affects just only AD curve. The question doesn't ask you about what is the effects on short run, long run. So they just say AD curve. So when you read question, you know that they asking you this chapter, AD curve, right? And the effects of money supply is central bank policy, which is monetary policies. So you draw this graph, but instead you shift leftward. You just shift it, instead you shift it rightward. You just shift it leftward because you reduce it money supply. And AD will shift leftward, okay, opposite direction. The government spent 3 billion to buy police car. Explain AD might increase more than 3 billion. And why AD, okay, this one is good one. We just learned today, so we don't need to write anything. Explain why AD might increase less than 3 billion. So what they ask you is that they ask you multiplier and counting out effects, right? So what you do is that they ask you first, why AD increase more than 3 billion? So you just say the same as this one, the same. G increase, you say 3 billion. They already tell you about police industry, police car. Okay, so you just first shift AD first time in the police industry. And then after that, you just shift one time, you draw your graph. Okay, and then after that, you just continue to any other industry. Okay, and we shift AD second time, third time, we go to this one, AD 2, 3. And the effects why AD bigger than G chain is because of multiplier effects that you just learned with me last time. Okay, so you see why this one it should be 3 billion, right? You shift first time and then multiplier can happen. So total chain is the chain from the first line AD0 until the last line. So AD is bigger than G because of multiplier. And then they ask you again, explain why AD chain less than G, which is counting out. So after you shift, you just continue with your answers. You just say, oh, after I shift, when AD increase, what happened? Price can increase, right? MD can change, we can have crowding out, and you shift backward. Just see what they ask you. They just ask you, explain why AD might increase less than 3 billion. So in fact, you can just copy your explanation, saying that when it's crowding out, if crowding out a lot, you go back further as AD 4.1 here. So it will make that the AD will change less than G. Okay, so you can answer. But because the question still asks you why AD change bigger than G, so crowding out still have these cases, okay? Because when crowding out happen again, but happens just only little, it can make AD to change more than G. So in fact, you can copy all answers, but just change just only from 20 billion to 3 billion. So this one you just learned today. And they just ask you again, okay, the same. What is theory of liquidity preference? I just tell you already that this is a theory that tell you about why you hold money. And the aims of holding money, we have 3 aims of holding money as in slide number 7. Okay. And after this theory, they just tell you about, after you know it, right? We can draw the graph of MD. Like this graph, we got money market graph. How does it explain the downward AD slope? So it's very simple that while it explains downward AD slope, it explained by the speculative motive of holding money because that type of holding money depend on interest rate. Interest rate you reduce, MD increase. Interest rate increase, MD reduce. Okay, I just go to number 5 and I finish today. Okay, I want to go further. Number 6 will be good for revisions. Okay, but you need to review it first. Number 5, and that is for today. Suppose consumer confidence indicate a wave of pessimism. Pessimism means you thinking bad about economy. If policymakers do not think what happened to AD, so you see the type of question they ask you just only AD, so it means they ask you this chapter, not other chapter, because they just ask you just only AD. If you don't do anything, what happened? Okay, AD, okay. So if you thinking bad, if the people in the economy thinking bad about economy, do they want to spend? No, they don't want to spend. So their consumption will go down, investment go down, and AD will shift leftward. So what you just first explain is that you just say that they not want to spend, consumption go down, investment go down, and AD will shift leftward. You draw the graph of AD and shift it leftward. That is because they just ask you what effects on AD. But if Fed want to stabilize the economy, what they do? Fed is central bank. So if right now economic are very bad, what you do? What type of monetary policy that you do during economic very bad? You're using expansionary monetary policy. When you use expansionary monetary policy, you try to increase money supply. So it will be the same effect as this graph. You shift money supply because you want to stabilize economy. So that's why what Fed do, Fed try to increase money supply. So you just explain the case as usual as in this graph. So money supply shift, rightward is increased, and then what happened to AD? AD will shift right. So if they don't do anything, AD will shift left, right? But if they want to stabilize economy, AD will shift rightward. And that is for this one. Because if Fed want to stabilize, what they do, so they should increase money supply. But in fact, if you see that kind of question, even they not tell you that you should draw graph, but you should draw graph because if you just answer me, Fed will increase money supply, I don't think it's a good answer because in fact, they just let you to say what happened on AD. And if you not draw graph, it's not full explanation of what happened on AD. I don't know. Okay, so in fact, you should draw graph and then shift as it is, as in slide 14. Okay, that's all. So we have another 10 question that we can go back and finish.